It was supposed to be a normal Tuesday. It's the kind of day where teachers droned on. Lunch was lukewarm, and nobody noticed the quiet girl in the back of the classroom. But by the time the final bell rang, 3 students would be limping a hallway. Camera would be reviewed frame by frame. For once, everyone at Grandview High would know the name Lina Akiyama. Asterisk, not because she was a top student. Not because she was different. Asterisk. But because she decided finally that silence wasn't strength if it meant letting others be cruel. Lina had always been a ghost at Grandview High. She was the type of girl whose presence was barely more than a shadow. She walked with her head down, never raised her hand, and always sat near the window where the light could reach her sketchpad. Every lunch was spent alone under the tree by the gym. No one knew much about her except that she was quiet, polite, and weird. And that was enough for the wrong kind of people to make her a target. Asterisk, the worst of them were Brielle, Casey, and Maddox's 3 students who didn't like what they couldn't control. Brielle was the queen bee with a mean streak. Casey followed her like a shadow, and Maddox was the kind of guy who laughed too hard when someone else was in pain. Together, they made the lives of quiet kids miserable. Asterisk, and for weeks now, Lina had been in their sights. It started small. Who are you again? When she introduced herself in class. Laughter when she tripped walking to her locker. What day? She found her sketchbook torn in half and stuffed into the bathroom. Trash. She didn't tell anyone, not the teachers, not the principal, not even her older brother, Kenji. Used to walk her home before he left for college. Asterisk, she told herself. If I stay small enough, they'll stop noticing me. But that was the thing about bullies. They don't stop when you disappear. They stop when you stand. It all came to a head on the day she wore her favorite shirt. Asterisk, it was pale blue, with embroidered white sakura blossoms that her mother had hand-stitched before she passed. It was the only item of clothing Lina had that made her feel close to her. That day she'd worn it because she felt brave enough, just for once, to not fade into the background. Big mistake. Asterisk, as the hallway emptied between classes. Brielle and her crew cornered her near the back stairwell. Asterisk, what's this? Brielle sneered, grabbing a corner of Lina's shirt, trying to be cute now. Think anyone cares what you wear? Asterisk, Casey laughed. It looks like it came from a grandma's closet. Asterisk, maybe it belonged to hers. Maddox smirked. What did she do, sew it from a curtain? Asterisk, stop, Lina said quietly, hugging her notebook to her chest. But they didn't. In one sudden motion, Brielle grabbed her shoulder and with a cruel jerk ripped the sleeve off the shirt. The fabric tore with a sickening sound. Lina gasped. Her mother's stitching unraveled in her hands. Time slowed. Pain, shame, grief fall surged in her chest like a dam-breaking asterisk. And then something else rose too. Something deeper, older, something trained. Lina dropped her notebook. Asterisk. She stepped back into a wide stance. Asterisk. Brielle opened her mouth to say something, but never got the chance. Asterisk, in a single fluid motion, Lina grabbed Brielle's wrist, pivoted, and threw her over her shoulder. Brielle's scream echoed down the hallway as she landed with a heavy thud on the linoleum floor. Asterisk. Casey lunged at her. Lina ducked, swept her leg out from under her, and sent her crashing down with a twist and a yelp. Asterisk. Maddox tried to grab her, arm from behind. He never even saw the elbow coming. Asterisk. All 3 were left sprawled on the floor, groaning, humiliated. Asterisk and Lina. She stood over them, calm, balanced, her breath slow and even. The hallway was silent, except for the whir of the whir, overhead camera, and the quiet sound of her voice. You don't get to touch me. Not ever again. It didn't take long before the footage made its way to the principal's office, and then, thanks to one curious student intern working in the AV club, to every student's phone. Asterisk. Within hours, Lina went from invisible to infamous. At first, she was called Judo Girl or Sakura Fist. There were memes, TikToks, edits with anime music and fight sound effects. Some students cheered her on. Others were shocked that such violence came from someone so quiet. Asterisk, but when Lena was called into the office, she told the truth. Asterisk about the bullying, the ripped shirt, the pain of losing her mother, and why she had held back for so long. Asterisk, she didn't lie. She didn't cry. She just stood tall. Asterisk, the school launched an investigation. Brielle, Casey, and Maddox were suspended for harassment. Teachers finally started asking students how they were really doing. The counselor's office opened group sessions for students who felt invisible or targeted. Asterisk and Lena. Asterisk, Lena joined the after-school martial arts club not because she needed to fight, but because she wanted to teach others how to protect themselves without losing themselves. Her story reached even further than the school. Parents praised her self-control. Local news picked up the story. She was invited to speak at an anti-bullying assembly. Asterisk, standing on that stage, she looked out at the sea of students who once ignored her. Asterisk, she wore a new blue shirt, this time embroidered by her own hand, using her mother's pattern. Asterisk, and this time, her voice didn't shake. Asterisk, I didn't throw them because I was angry. I threw them because I was done being small. Asterisk, I learned Judo to find balance, not power. But balance means standing your ground when someone tries to take what matters to you. Stepped back, and the room erupted. Lena never asked to be a symbol, never wanted to be the center of attention. But in choosing to defend her voice, her space, and her PCIs gave others permission to do the same. Asterisk, she still liked sketching by herself, still wore soft cardigans, still walked with quiet steps, but no one mistook her silence for weakness again, because sometimes the quietest girl in the room is the one who hits the hardest when you push her too far. Ending message. Silence is not surrender. Kindness is not weakness. And sometimes the moment you stand up is the moment the world sits down and listens.